We are extremely lucky to have with us someone who is both a direct participant and a witness of the events in Hong Kong. Since 2014, Yik Mo Wong has been a tireless democracy activist, together with Joshua Wong, one of the top leaders of the Demosisto organization that coordinates many of the protests in Hong Kong. Nothing I can say about the situation can be more authentic and directly experienced than what he can tell us. Yik Mo Wong.
Dear organizer, dear guests, this is my great honor to be invited to the conference to speak on behalf of the Hong Kong people about our current human rights situation. I'm glad that I've made it to Prague from a great escape yesterday. For 6 hours, I was marching and escaping from the police. Some of us were arrested. I'm the lucky one that I got away. This year marks the 30th anniversary of the fall of Berlin Wall, the success of solidarity movement in Poland, and of course the victory of the Velvet Revolution. At the same time, it's also the 30th anniversary of mourning of the students and people who were slaughtered by the Chinese regime in Tiananmen Square massacre on June 4th. While the wall in eastern Germany fell, making it possible that the people suppressed under the communist regime could see a brighter future with democracy. On the other hand, a wall was built in China to prevent the cry for democracy and blocked the Chinese people from freedom for 30 years. A tangible wall emerged. There's a great firewall of the internet in China. The wall hampers any unwanted information to flow into the territory. Censorship on internet and social media is everywhere. Keywords such as June 4th, 64 were blocked. And if you surf mainstream media websites of Hong Kong, you will get error 404. Under such suppression, people longing for knowledge need to jump over the wall with VPN to surf the internet. However, the vast majority of people remain uninformed of the dark side of the Chinese history, and any information that is critical to the government policies or could provoke potential uprising. Inside a wall, people live in lies or selected, edited truth. They believe in capitalism with organized economy, a system that exploits underprivileged people without practicing any human rights at all. And a combination of political communism and economic capitalism brings them good fortune, privilege, and power. The system builds another wall, intangible, but so powerful in their minds. Hong Kong enjoys the status of most free city in the world, but this freedom is merely economic liberalism. 22 years after the handover from Great Britain to China, the little protection on human rights further shrank, leaving the poor even more vulnerable to inequality. 1 million people out of 7.4 million living under poverty line, even in a city so wealthy and prosperous like Hong Kong. High housing prices, public housing prioritizing migrants from China, universal pension yet to be legislated, houses in remote areas demolished for development projects, and people exiled from their homes. Land monopoly causing the rising of living standard. And the only thing that has not risen is the wage, the salary. And there's no regulation to protect the poor, resulting in a huge and even larger disparity between the rich and the poor. Trading with China brings good fortune, but it can also corrupt one's mind. Privileged people in Hong Kong seldom see the root of social problems. They call protesters troublemakers. Sadly, these people control Hong Kong's economy, public transport, majority of industries including food and beverage, shopping malls, and all livelihood needs. And once the big firms comply with a police order, it can create a split in the society that can never be mended. But not only the privileged people build up an internal wall, cynical people also do so. With free access to information, still large proportion of Hong Kong citizens choose belief in lies from the government and from the police. Day after day, the police tells lies in their press conferences, denying all accusations from the civil society. They would simply say they either attack the citizens out of self-protection or they don't comment on individual cases. Yet some people choose belief in these lies and they give up their rights to live in the truth. They've chosen an easier path. The police have definitely chosen the latter, earning around 3,800 euros a month as a starting point salary. That's more than a university graduate, but then they have very low educational level, qualification, and they even get housing allowances. Police salary is the highest among all disciplinary forces. By doing so, the Hong Kong government successfully keeps and guarantees, secures its armed force. Nevertheless, there's a choice to remain humane and being inhumane. Very few police officers choose to arrest protesters without unnecessary violence, while the rest of them fire expired tear gas at 4-year-old and 70-year-old elderlies, shooting protesters and journalists with rubber bullets, beanbag rounds, and sponge-tipped bullets with glee. They call us cockroaches and attack us as if they were playing video games. Protesters were reported fractured due to police torture, and there are also alleged rape, not only to girls, but even to boys, by the police. Only yesterday, I was at a very peaceful protest on the National Day of China, although we call it National Mourning Day. Well, it was just like the past. Only this time, this year, every protest is banned by the police. Almost all metro stations were shut down to prevent protesters from leaving, from escaping. Shopping malls were closed so that we could not stay inside, so that we have to stay in the streets and wait for the police to come to arrest us. Cans after cans of tear gas shot from above our heads, targeting our heads. Police charging from all directions, leaving us no way to escape. So we ask ourselves, what have we done to deserve such treatment? And then we realize that only living in truth is a crime. An 18-year-old who happened to be a cousin of a friend of mine was shot with live round by the police on his chest yesterday. The bullet went through his lung. It's only 3 centimeters from his heart. Yet the police lie again. They claim that was shot on his shoulder. We're all well aware that acts alone can never destroy high walls, and therefore we go abroad to seek international solidarity and support. Very often we face another wall, and that is called profit. A strong economy, unimaginable large market, China attracts every country to invest in and trade with it. Since the open-door policy of Deng Xiaoping, China's aggression on world economy never holds back, and it's now the second biggest economy on the globe. But all the prosperities is succeeded by exploitation of the underprivileged people. China's record on human rights is very well known. Tiananmen Square massacre, concentration camps of the Uyghur and Tibetans, crack down on human rights lawyers, among others, and who would utter a word for these victims. Most governments, if not all, choose to stay silent or to be silenced by red capital. Let me tell you a story. Cathay Pacific, a world-renowned airline from Hong Kong, is largely owned by Swire, a British group, and recently it dismissed at least 36 employees, including the chairperson of a union. Employees' social medias were censored, a merely like on the comments supporting the movement can lead them to dismissal. Fake profiles were set up to frame certain employees, and they were dismissed. Merely reporting the leak of oxygen cylinder brought 2 crew to dismissal. The firm refuses to give explanation, and even worse, Cathay Pacific encourages its employees to report and denounce their colleagues. Now, does that sound familiar to you? We Hong Kongers, especially our parents who escaped from China during the Cultural Revolution, will never forget such denouncement and public shaming. But this is happening now in 2019. Other workplaces face the same fate. Whistleblowers from firemen who disclose the truth are facing punishment. And China is creating a white terror, and ruling Hong Kong with terror. If this happens to Cathay, it can happen everywhere. Wherever we need China, wherever you need China, you will need to compromise. And that is the unilateral rule set by China. The same applies to the United Nations, a platform where human rights victims can be at least get international support. And this platform is being infiltrated by red capital. President Xi is now building a new Chinese empire. Its colonies, what it colonizes Eastern African and Western countries with economy. And the price is obedience. No matter what happens to the people, no matter how cultures are eradicated, how many people die, how many people suffer, to protect their homes. Colonies are not allowed to speak up. They have to stay silent. But it's this world that we want to see, to live in lies again and be not able to speak the truth. Is it what the Eastern Germans and the Polish and the Czech fought for? After all the efforts to finally win democracy from the communism, Hong Kong has been fighting for democracy for over 22 years, since the handover of our sovereignty in 1997. Despite the defamation of China, with its media outlets to create narratives about how we are separatists and how violent we are and how just the police is to protect citizens. We go on fighting in the streets and on other platforms, any platforms possible. We are creative. We raise hundreds, thousands euros of fund within one morning on the internet just to post advertisement on foreign media on their front pages. We create songs about police violence, ironic but true. We form human chains of joint hands and we shout slogans at home at 10 p.m. together. We write our own campaign movement anthem, Glory to Hong Kong, and play and sing it in shopping malls. People from all sectors, all age groups, and together and support the frontline fighters should they be unable to join. Frontline fighters risk their lives and liberty to protect each other and to protect our home. They are the bravest people. I'm often asked or told by Chinese, by the Tibetan or Uyghurs, that Hong Kong is the hope of China because we have a very special status. What I would say, this is our honor to be the hope, but then this responsibility is very heavy on our shoulders. We never submitted to the authority to legitimize its tyranny. We live in truth, and we know that the regime is actually afraid of us. We don't know what awaits us in the future. And the darkness before dawn is, of course, the darkest. But I remember what my father told me when he swam from China to Hong Kong in the 70s. He said, when you jump into the sea, you may drown, you may be eaten by sharks. You don't know, you might be shot by guns. But do you see the light ahead of you? That is hope. Keep swimming, and there lies your future. And therefore, we will go on fighting. With this opportunity, we also urge the international community to stand with us, to stand with Hong Kong, and say no to Chinese totalitarianism. Hong Kong stands at the front line between universal values and Chinese totalitarianism. If Hong Kong falls, China will move a step forward towards the destruction of human rights and freedoms. And therefore, we have three proposals. The first one is to insert human rights clauses in any bilateral agreements with Hong Kong and possibly China. The second one is implementation of Magnitsky Act that has been called for by the MEP earlier this year. And the third one is to be very careful when trading with China. We're supporting China for a lower price and a bigger market will backfire one day. There are alternatives like 5G internet from the US, for example, or from Finland. They are more expensive, but then there are some prices that you don't pay now until it's too late. The last few lines of our movement anthems goes, see, dawn breaks, Hong Kong again close in light. O daughter and sons, for justice in our time, may freedom and democracy forever live. May glory be to thee, Hong Kong. I would like to conclude my speech by singing the last verse of our anthem as a dedication to all who are still fighting at my home. 黎明來到，耀光復這香港，同行兒女為正義時代革命，祈求民主與自由萬世都不朽。我願榮光歸香港。May glory be to Hong Kong. May glory be to the people who are still fighting for human rights, freedom, and humanity. Thank you.